All right, welcome everybody to another Metabolic Monday with your boy, the Metabolic Mentor. Hoping you guys had a great weekend. We're just getting back. This is Metabolic Monday number 1, coming out of the Hybrid Health Summit, 4-day event. It was absolutely incredible. Amazing speakers, amazing people, amazing experience. Shout out below as you're just loading in. If you happen to attend the Hybrid Health Summit, drop in the chat HHS if you did. And what's up, Roxanne? Hello, everybody. We're going to let everyone load on in. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes behind, but I promise I will deliver tonight. If you're new to Metabolic Monday, hello, I am functional nutritionist Vince Pitstick. I have over 18 years in the world of functional medicine research, fitness nutrition, weight loss nutrition, Western medicine, science and education, and I blend it all together into amazing answers, education that you just cannot get anywhere else. I'm here to cut the fat, clear the air, give you straightforward advice from someone who works in the field, working with the best practitioners that actually do the things that you have the questions about. So that's where we get real information with real context and we cut the BS. So we call it Metabolic Monday. We deliver it in an hour and we hang out. And I bring some stuff today. We're going to talk today all about insulin sensitivity and inflammation and how it actually works and why you should train people that are obese different than you should train people who are fit or of normal weight. We're going to talk about high sex hormone binding globulin and how it prevents women from building muscle and why there may be medicinal reasons to use what they call Anavar, which is listed now as a no-no and anti-substance because it's considered a bodybuilding drug, but there's actually a medicinal component to it as well. We're going to talk about some of the data related to that. We're also going to get into how I would run protocols for post-vaccine and all kinds of other things here today. We're going to dive right on in. Also, anybody who I select their questions from my questions tabs in my stories, those people will win a GDA Pro. We just dropped it earlier this month. It's almost sold already, almost 1,000 bottles. Our new metabolic enhancer. It's a blood sugar balancer, helps nutrient partitioning and so much more. We have that product that we're going to give to all the winners or people I've selected their questions. We also just give products and other gifts and certifications away in the chat to those that are loud and proud. So drop in the chat where you're watching from right now and how crazy was your Monday. Was it a 1 out of 10? Was it a real easy, chill Monday? Or a 10 out of 10? It was a terrible, stressed Monday and you cannot wait till it is over. Well, I hope for those people I make it just a little bit better. We're getting closer to the goal line. I also have my amazing team to answer your questions in the chat. We like getting feedback from you. We like interacting with you in this hour. I get 100 questions a day in my DMs. So this is a place where you can get access to me, ask questions. I've got my amazing team. My top apprentice, Waleed's in the chat. We've got our team, Cam from Metabolic Mentor University, and others in the chat. We are here to answer your questions. Loud and proud from Oregon. It's day 1 or 1 day this fine Monday. Awesome. Only a 1. I love that. Utah 2. Roxanne 9 out of 10. Best thing about Mondays is that they end. Don't worry. So it won't last too much longer. So, okay, we're going to dive right in. Again, I reward people that leave comments in the chat, that are commenting, that are asking questions, that are interactive. Cincinnati, what's going on? DJ L Train, the DJ at the Hybrid Health Summit. So I reward people. So if you guys are dropping a lot of comments and questions, I might select you for a New Ethics care package, New Ethics Formulations, the best supplement company in the coaching world, and I would know because I help develop the products. I see the COAs. I know those products are great, and I make amazing results with those products. Sacramento, 7 out of 10. That's all right. It's almost over. Don't you worry. All right, Plainfield, 8 out of 10. Some people are having some tough Mondays. Again, well, hopefully we're here to make it better. I'm going to drop right in because I've got so many knowledge bombs to drop for you guys today. I want to get this thing rolling for us. And so let's go to kick in. First thing I got to tell you guys, because my lawyers say so, this is not medical advice. I am not a doctor. I am a functional expert, but I do not treat, cure, prevent any disease. It's not my game. If you want or need, please see a functional practitioner or doctor before utilizing any of the information provided here today. Oh, Christina just said Sarasota, 3 out of 10. I just enrolled in MMU. Well, we're glad to have you. Welcome to the 1 in 100 fam. Speaking of the 1 in 100 family, if you want to join amazing practitioners like Dr. Carrie Jones, some of the best coaches in the game, like to my left here, this way, like Alan Kress, and so many others who think like us that healthcare and that fitness need to be different, do different. If you want to help us disrupt those industries, if you feel like we do, please join us on our Facebook group in the 1-on-100. We drop education and resources every day. We have a huge team in there that's always providing support. Yeah, Dr. Sarah, I'm actually going to get into that. I'm going to talk about SHBG today and an interesting fact about that. So hold tight. We have answers for that. But again, if you feel like healthcare should be different, if you're a practitioner or a believer in functional and you want a different way for yourself and you want to be around people of like mind, join us in the 1-on-100 Project. And you can do that in our Facebook. Check it out on Facebook and on your local Facebook or whatever. And you can go to groups, check out 1-on-100. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. My mouth is just going and I'm not thinking. But MMU is on my list. Well, we hope you join soon. We have MMU has a new 13-week cohort style, classroom style, where we walk you through it hands-on to make sure that you can actually execute and understand the information that you're being given. MMU is way different than just some educational university or center. We don't just throw education at you. We throw a system at you that can help you create incredible results for you and your clients or patients. So, all right, we're going to dig in a little bit here, kind of go through some stuff. First question comes from Kurt's Fitness. Kurtz, my man. What's up, Nick? Kurtz, you are now the winner of GDA Max Pro, our new product from New Ethics Formulations, guaranteed to rev up your metabolism, help you nutrient partition, help you shuttle those carbohydrates to build muscle, reduce the chance of fat gain. So Curtis, if you watch this or you're in the chat, Waleed, we can send a message or drop your information in the chat, or Waleed, or reach out if you're on here. We will get your information and drop that to you. Sir, can you explain the correlation between inflammation and insulin resistance? This is a very good question, and I want to talk about this because something very important. I want all of you to understand, okay? If you're looking at these two people, do you think that you should resistance train them the same? Drop in the chat, yes or no. Do you think that these two people, you should resistance train the same? How about if they're trying to lose weight? Should I give them the same macros? Should I give them the same food? Yeah, Candace, my GDA is on the way. Candace, results are in store for you. That product is incredible. I'm taking it right now. Megan, I think it's Megan. We're going to say Megan. Or Meg says no. Candace says no. Roxanne says nope. Oh, we got some smart people in here today. All right. Christina says no. That's right. It should be kind of obvious, right? It should be kind of obvious. But if you talk to a lot of fitness experts or you talk to a lot of weight loss experts, what they're going to tell you is that it really doesn't matter. Just get them into a caloric deficit and get them resistance training. That's what they're going to tell you. Now, I'm going to tell you, and the results that I get is because I went a different path. I did not believe this to be so. As a trainer back in the day, 15 years ago, I would have trained these people 4 or 5 days a week. I would have beat them up. I would have put them on high protein diets and low carbs and really reduce the calories. And there's nothing wrong with lower carb diets. There's nothing wrong with reducing the calories. But what I've learned today, after 15 years of doing this, what I have learned, team, is that in fact, you should not train these people to the same, and you should not diet them the same. And that if you do, go back to the screen, producer Malachi, if I train this woman 5 days a week right now, right, and I pull all of her carbs, I'm actually going to eat a lot of muscle on her before I get the desired fat loss, which is going to ensure that she's going to rebound or gain weight faster than she should. And then she's going to be right back in the position that I left her in when she found me. Do you see the problem? And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to give you some data and I'm going to explain why. So here is a really good, interesting piece of data. So this looked at NF-kappa B. Now, what is NF-kappa B? NF-kappa B is a kinase. What is a kinase? A kinase is an inflammatory cellular messenger. So it is a message that is produced inside the cell. It is a kinase. A cytokine is a message produced by other cells that is outside the cell. But a kinase is a message made inside a cell. Okay, so this was looking at NF-kappa B activity. This is a pro-inflammatory marker that leads to insulin insensitivity. That's what, hey, I couldn't believe you're on right now. I'm showing your picture. You know what's funny about that is I was thinking about, if I throw that picture up there, is she going to end up attending tonight? I'm like, she might show up, so I'm going to use her picture. So look how good she looks right here, though. She's building now. She still looks great. But look how great she looks right there. Anyways, but she was this way, maybe not completely like this. She was prior, right? So the way that this body is going to train now is not the way that this body would train, right? And I'm going to get into the cellular mechanisms of why you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah, your nose must have been itching, Taylor. That's hilarious. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Look at her again. Isn't my work so good? Anyway, all right, let's move on. So, NF-kappa B, activity in muscle from obese and type 2 diabetic subjects under basal and exercise stimulated conditions. So what this research was looking at non-obese and obese people, and it was looking at muscle tissue from biopsy as one, was looking at non-training basal levels and training basal levels. So that means that some people, they didn't work out and they checked their level of NF-kappa B. And then in other people, they train them. Okay, so this is a pretty good study, right? I like this study because it's looking at both environments, all right? Now, what you need to understand is that as inflammation builds from excess calories, from inflammatory foods, from stress, from toxins, from a messed up gut. Oh yeah, Watson loves to come on by. He's trying to remind me that I need to feed him, and this is what he does. And I just let him run. Hell with it. Everybody loves the cat. Why not just let him on screen? Hell with it. So, he loves the camera. Anytime I like, and when I'm filming a video, Watson tries to get in the camera. He tries to get on screen every single time. So I don't know. He just loves the spotlight. So this is important. This is what changed my career, because as a trainer, when I was doing high protein, low calorie diets, and I was resistance training, particularly females, and I was doing what are called BIA studies. BIA studies are called bioimpedance analyzers, okay? And they look at muscle, fat, water status. It's the same. We had high-tech ones, medical ones, where you attach to the hands and the feet, leads. You can go do one maybe today at a vitamin shop. You can stand on the machine. Now, if you do them accurately with the right water intake in your body, not trained, no caffeine, not fed, if you do BIAs correctly, you get a pretty good accurate result on how muscle, water, and fat move throughout loss, okay? So particularly in females, what we started noticing is that the more obese they got, or the more inflamed they were, or the older they were, or the more in menopause that they were, the more that you beat the hell out of them in the gym and you focus on caloric deficits rather than anti-inflammatory diets, the more muscle they ate. Significant amounts of muscle. So yes, inflammation was going down because you were reducing calories, you were burning some fat, but you were trading away way too much muscle and you were getting rid of inflammation slower. Now, if you take a 25-year-old obese male, you're less likely to lose muscle because they have more androgens. They're less catabolic creatures. This is true. And yes, if you were to take a pre-diabetic and you were to train them 1,000,000 miles and reduce their calories, eventually all their inflammation would go away. This is true. However, there are many people that would not get rid of all their inflammation, and just losing some weight didn't change early mortality. There are plenty of studies that show that you can lose some weight, but if you don't get rid of the inflammation, the chance of a heart attack or early mortality is just as likely. So if I go from 260 to 220, but I'm still inflamed and I still keep some of my lifestyle factors that were pro-inflammatory, I'm probably going to die at the same age. That's the sad fact. So we have to be careful. Weight loss is an anti-inflammatory in and of itself, but did you do enough for the body? And by the way, yes, females are not small men, darn it. That's exactly right. And then also, how much muscle did they lose? Because I'm telling you now, the average American that loses weight will gain back at least a pound a year. That's natural. Everyone's going to gain some weight back, y'all. But the rate at which they do, the severity at which they do, directly depends on how they diet. So what we were figuring out in these females when I was watching, because we were doing BIA tests weekly for like a year. So and we were doing hundreds of people like this. I must have done 10,000 BIAs. So nobody understands the behavior of body composition and different functional approaches versus standard weight loss approaches versus fitness nutrition approaches. Nobody understands the impact on the body composition more than myself. Now, you can look at the body, but that doesn't tell you anything. A person can be getting leaner, but losing way too much muscle in the process. And then what happens is they're going to rebound at 5 pounds a year or 10 pounds a year versus the person that only gains 1 pound a year. Okay? This matters because while you're helping them lose the weight, you can be digging their grave because they're going to repeat it. So this study was great. All right? And so this helps us understand. When we have a large buildup of NF-kappa B in our body, so there are a few inflammatory markers, but the king is NF-kappa B. Okay, and when we have a buildup of this, what happens is that your immune system reacts to it with upregulated macrophages. These macrophages release 3 major things: IL-1, IL-6, TNF-alpha. These transcription factors in the cells release higher amounts. And those create inflammation across the body. So in the muscle, in the liver, in fat tissue, which makes it harder to burn fat, cognitive decline in the brain, it can build up in the heart, and particularly in the pancreas. So what happens is inflammation builds. Your body either over-secretes or doesn't secrete enough insulin. It makes it harder for you to burn the fat without the insulin. Insulin is not a fat burning. I don't want to get into people talking about insulin as a fat gaining hormone. Insulin is what releases leptin when it works correctly. Insulin is a fat burner when it works correctly. It creates inflammation and poor glucose metabolism in the muscle. And it causes poor detoxification and processing in the liver. And it makes that's why you'll have non-alcoholic fatty liver, or you'll have non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver when it's processing a bunch of sugar and pro-inflammatory compounds, and especially when you're not eating healthy. Okay, so this is all going on inside the body. So it's already super inflamed. So somebody tell me, is inflammation or working out, for example, is working out a pro-inflammatory event? Drop it in the chat. Is working out a pro-inflammatory event? That is a good question. I'm going to wait just a second. I'm going to wait for some people's answers. Is working out pro-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory? So we got yes. Okay, yes, it's inflammatory. Yes. Let's keep going here. Yes. Okay, good. Good, good. Sometimes. Not a bad answer. I actually like Diane's answer in a second. Yes. Yeah, okay. So you are in generally correct. High intensity or hypertrophy training or almost any kind of activity is generally pro-inflammatory. Although Diane is not wrong. So Diane is, because she's a client, she knows that there is activity that is parasympathetic leaning, like yoga, right? Walking. These things are less pro-inflammatory. They have less of a stimulus on the body, but they're less pro-inflammatory. Maybe light Pilates. So Diane actually isn't wrong. Working out is pro-inflammatory at first, and then anti-inflammatory second. Now let me explain why that is. When I go and I'm working out heavy, or I'm on HIIT cardio, or I'm doing whatever, okay? I'm stimulating inflammation aggressively. Sympathetic, fight or flight hormone rises, stress hormone rises, okay? Inflammation is not bad if you have the right amount. Inflammation is what creates growth. It's what stimulates change. You cannot have change without an inflammatory event. It's what stimulates growth. It is the nutrient of growth, okay, or change in the body. However, if you have too much change in the body at once, it leads to tissue breakdown. So let me give you an example. If I'm doing bicep curls and I do a day, I do 3 sets, 3 different lifts, hypertrophy, I create inflammation, I go home, I rest, I eat, then there's 2 phases of inflammation or of recovery. The pro-inflammatory phase and then the resolution phase. Those are 2 different parts of your immune system. You recruit macrophages, you recruit them when you work out. So when I am initially working out, I upregulate macrophages, they generate inflammation, muscle tear down, that triggers the resolution phase, okay? These are like M2 macrophages. They're cells that heal. The healing is anti-inflammatory. So the back half of inflammation, the back half of a workout is anti-inflammatory. It also assists in autophagy. That's why working out is great for preventing cancer, because it induces autophagy, which is medicinal and anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. But initial stages are inflammatory. So if I already have someone that is really, 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 really inflamed, they've already got too much of a stimulus of change. Tissue is already stressed and inflamed. So if I go and I work out really aggressively and I add a lot of inflammation to the body, I'm creating a catabolic environment where tissue breakdown occurs and you don't get absorption of glucose and insulin appropriately. Yeah, acute versus chronic, very good. So when you have chronic inflammation. So in the study, remember this study now, they looked at the tissue. Now check this out. In the study, they went over the conclusion and the evidence. And it says here, NF-kappa B activity was elevated significantly post-workout in obese. Or this is a baseline. This is before activity. So the obese already had a 2.1-fold increase of NF-kappa B. And so did the type 2 diabetics, right? Type 2 diabetics even had more, 2.7. Versus healthy individuals, okay? NF-kappa B activity did not change in any group after 40 minutes of exercise. So while the exercise is occurring, inflammation isn't rising just yet. Wait a minute though. However, NF-kappa B activity was increased in the muscle biopsy. So in the muscle, okay, they did a biopsy. Isn't that crazy? They did a muscle biopsy, obtained 210 minutes, which is about 3 hours post, right? It's 60, 120, 180. It's like 3.5 hours post exercise. So in lean people, there was a 1.9-fold increase in inflammation. That's the initiation of healing. Okay? So that's what I was talking about. That's in the early stage. However, in obese people, it was a 2.6-fold increase in NF-kappa B. When you have the increase of kappa B, so NF-kappa B, this is important to understand for glucose partitioning and insulin resistance. Okay? When you have a huge increase, okay, you're going to see here on the side of the screen, NF-kappa B increases something called P13K or P13, maybe it is, I'm sorry. So this is a kinase that blocks these glucose transport vesicles. So you got glucose at the surface, okay? To absorb glucose, you need insulin. However, if there's too much inflammation inside the cell being induced by NF-kappa B, then this PI3K will shut down these glucose transport vesicles because insulin will get in the body, inducing the glucose transport vesicle to go to the surface and get all the glucose. And that's called GLUT4, which you see here, GLUT4. Okay. Well, when you have high amounts of NF-kappa B, you have very low amounts of GLUT4. So here's the problem. If I'm stressing them out, I'm training them really, really aggressively, what's going to happen is NF-kappa B is going to go up, PI3K is going to go up, it's going to block insulin from being absorbed, and so this glucose is going to sit out here in the blood, okay? That leads to muscle tissue breakdown, and it leads to poorer outcomes with fat metabolism. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to lose weight, because in a caloric deficit, you will lose weight. Now, remember, these people have metabolic slowdown, so they're going to lose weight at a slower rate than other people typically, particularly if they're female. Okay. So what you need to understand is that the smart thing to do with people that are obese is to clear the inflammation first. Start with non-inflammatory activities that are more resting or relaxing to the central nervous system. Yoga, walking, Pilates. I like cold therapy. And then just train them full body about twice a week. Because you need to clear this first. You give them a Mediterranean diet or you flush their body. Because when you clean this up, then when they go work out, insulin's gonna go in. Glucose is gonna go in. They're gonna nutrient partition. They're gonna hold more muscle. They're gonna burn more fat. They're gonna feel better doing it. That is why I get such great outcomes, because I understand you wanna do the cart before the horse in this case, even though it doesn't seem right. And even though conventional wisdom would have you believe all you need to do is throw these people into a caloric deficit. Well, they've been doing that to those people for how long? How's that working out, right? So if it was me, so the more to answer this question that he was saying is, can you explain the correlation between inflammation and insulin resistance? As NF-kappa B builds inside the body, you're going to release this cytokine. You're going to release all these kinases. Okay? And then these are going to keep building. And then what happens is you shut down sugar transport vesicles. The glucose keeps building out in the blood because you can't absorb the insulin because of PI3K. So the more higher the NF-kappa B gets, the more buildup you're going to have outside. Okay? So that's how that works. Now, the protocol that I would use typically is I'm going to go to a Mediterranean diet or I'm going to flush them. I want to flush this because if I flush inflammation, I'm going to immediately get glucose absorption. That's why a lot of people you're going to see in the industry will just cut carbs because they're trying to lower this. No. That's just going to make them feel like shit, and you're going to slow down the metabolism, and you're going to slow down the thyroid. The carbs support thyroid. We don't want to do that. We want to leave carbs in. We want to reduce inflammation, and the reduction in inflammation will bring the glucose down. That's why I see 2 to 5x the better glucose numbers when I flush people first with a Mediterranean or flush diet, and I use Metapure for the liver and OptiPure. When I do this first, so Adventures of I don't know how to say the rest of it. Keto is great, but I'm telling you again, it is not what you should start with. I use keto, but I get 10 times better results using carbs first. If you pull the carbs out first, all the weight loss you're getting is from water reduction. Because when you pull carbs, you reduce glycogen. You reduce glycogen, you reduce water inside the body, which all that does is make people less hydrated. I don't particularly like that. I love keto, I use it, but it's my third step in my system, okay? I have a 4F system: flush, feed, function, fast, or for really sick people, it's fast function. 4 steps, works every time. There's a reason for it. I flush them first for the inflammation. I'll get people's sugars to drop 10, 15%. I'll get insulin to drop pretty quickly just from this. And then I work into the gut some. But if I've got people with high insulin, after I flush them, I'm going to focus on insulin. Okay? And there's 2 products that do that. Okay? GDA Max Pro. This is now the Mac Daddy of them all. This is the best insulin glucose product, metabolism product on the market. Dr. Carrie Jones and I collaborated to make this product. It is reducing sugars in numbers we've never seen before. It is absolutely, hands down, I guarantee, the strongest metabolizer of glucose, helping with fat loss, preventing fat gain from carbohydrates. We got questions coming in the chat. Let's answer some of the questions. What if there's mistakes on the flush? Is it still working? Not just as well. Not as well fast. So Sammy, the good news about the flush is it was designed for people to only be 80% on it because we understand human behavior. So if you're at least giving me 80%, you're getting good results. You're getting positive results from it. But if you want crazy, insane results, you need to be closer to a 90 to 95% accuracy. If a 15-year-old girl got her A1C tested and is 5.9 pre-diabetic, would you do the flush first for her or lower carbs? So Taylor, perfect example. So a 15-year-old girl's problem is not sugar. A 15-year-old girl should be able to eat pounds of donuts a day and not have glycated hemoglobin, which is what A1C is. Okay? So that means inflammation's in the blood, and it's making glucose stick to her red blood cells. Or hemoglobin, which is in the red blood cell. So you got sugar attached to the red blood cell. That's an inflammatory issue. That's not necessarily a carbohydrate issue. Okay? So watch, flush her first. And then for me to lower those, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to GDA Pro and Insinase. So Malachi, go back to the main screen for me. So GDA Pro is the strongest. It is based off of all of the herbs that work like a GLP. So think of natural semaglutide with no side effects like semaglutide, but it's focused on insulin. It's the first glucose metabolizer that is only designed to crank insulin. So when I eat food, I want to crank insulin. Talk to any bodybuilder that is super lean, super big. What are they typically using? They're using a little bit of insulin. 1-2 IU post meal. Why are they doing that? Because they know that if I crank insulin right when I'm eating, only when I'm eating, not throughout the day, all day, right when I'm eating, I'm going to snatch up all the glucose and I'm going to shove it into my muscles. When you do that, you're going to increase fat metabolism while eating. Does anybody know that you're supposed to be burning fat while you eat carbs? Does anybody know that? Or food in general? People need to understand this. If I'm chronically dieting or I'm keeping my calories really low for a long time, okay? Or I'm going really low carb for a long time, or I stay in carnivore too long, or I stay in keto too long, which I love all those diets, but you can stay in them too long, okay? What happens is your insulin gets too low so that when you eat food, you're not firing aggressively with insulin. When you don't fire aggressively with insulin, then you don't drop leptin. Leptin is a fat-burning hormone. In fact, without insulin, you can't burn fat for the most part. So when people tell you that insulin is a fat storing hormone, they don't know what they're talking about. They're thinking about people that have high insulin all day long. And those people are gaining fat because of their diet, lifestyle, the metabolic dysfunction high insulin's caused, inflammation, not because of insulin. Insulin is not the bad guy. Okay? Now, if you have somebody with high insulin, that's a fasting number, that means they have insulin high all the time. That's not good. But when you're eating food, you want insulin to crank. That means that your pancreas, remember what I showed you? Pancreas. When NF-kappa B gets too high, your beta cell activity in your pancreas gets low. So you stop secreting enough insulin, or you overproduce insulin because you can't get it into the cell. So you're going to go one of two ways. The people that underproduce insulin get weight loss resistant. Okay? So the key to like using all of your food and not storing it as fat is immediately when you eat, having a really good insulin response. It's going to pull all that glucose, it's going to shove it into your muscles, and you're going to feel amazing. You're not going to have this big crash of sugars. So your energy, your metabolism, and so when insulin goes up, what goes up? Leptin goes up. Okay? So I've ate carbs, right? Now my gut feels the food coming in, releases a peptide, right? Called GLP-1. Okay? GLP-1 is your body making your own semaglutide. Okay? What that does then is it induces the beta cells in your pancreas to release insulin. That insulin then is supposed to, if you have a really strong spike, it'll go grab all that glucose, all the nutrients, shuttle it into the cell. Right? Because a lot of things attach to glucose, and that's how you get up-regulated absorption, a lot of the things that you eat. That's why a lot of like my pre-workouts or things that I take with carbs. It's easier to absorb nutrients with carbs because of this nutrient partitioning that occurs with insulin and glucose function and pulling it into the cell. Okay? Now, as soon as that insulin spikes, so I'm at 1 hour. So I eat food, and then at 1 hour, my sugars are at their highest because of the food I'm eating. So my insulin is supposed to have spiked and is supposed to be grabbing that glucose and pulling it down to go back into hour 2. Now, I don't care about spikes. Spikes are great. So those glucose meter companies that are like, oh my God, my glucose spiked because I drank orange juice, they're preying on you. That's not what matters, unless you're a diabetic. That definitely matters if you're a diabetic and you get up to 400. But if you're an average human being, what matters is that not at the hour, but at 2 hours, do my sugars return to normal? Because if they don't, it means you've left unutilized glucose sitting in your blood that leads to unwanted effects aesthetically and metabolically. Okay? So that has to do with your fuel efficiency, right? If your car's supposed to get 30 miles to the gallon and it's getting 16, that is an inefficient system. So if my sugars are 80, I eat a big meal, 2 hours later my sugars are 90, that's not an efficient system. There's metabolic inefficiencies happening there. Okay? It's not about how high you spike. Although the higher that you spike and the higher that you come down, the more energy that may take from you. You may feel that drop. Okay? So there may be an energy issue related to that. Just know that. Big drops make people tired. So then guess what you do? You eat more. Right? You can still burn fat, but it can still have an effect on you fatigue-wise, and it may not be the most metabolically efficient system. Okay? So, but at the 1 hour peak, my body's cranked the insulin. That's when your fat cells, they read that, they release leptin. Leptin takes away your hunger. So now I'm not hungry, so I stop eating and I start burning fat. even after I've ate carbs. People that get weight loss resistance or have less efficient metabolisms is because their body no longer burns fat while they're eating, which is one of the first things to go. We see it in competitors, we see it in autoimmune sufferers, we see it in the obese. It's the same thing, okay? So what we need to do is crank fat metabolism when you're eating. Well, how do you do that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I just effing told you, crank effing insulin. Ask any bodybuilder that you know, except do it healthy. Don't take insulin unless you're a bodybuilder, and good for you, and you're gonna have to clean that up after you do that for 16 weeks or something, because it leads to inefficiencies in your insulin. It can lead to high insulin. But when you do it naturally and you just use herbal ingredients, it's not gonna do that. So GDA Max Pro, that is why it is the most, we have seen, we're doing keto meter tests all throughout the day. We're doing blood sugar tests all throughout the day. Talk to anybody that's on this product. You're gonna see insane numbers. My sugars are back to normal at 1 hour. And usually it's 2 hours, right? I have 50-point drops in my sugars when I take this thing. It's incredible. But more importantly, my ketones. So my ketones increase by 20% while I'm eating carbs at the 1 hour point after I eat, which is when you should be burning fat. So this is why it's important for people to understand that your metabolic health has everything to do with how you will develop aesthetically. And so therefore, different body types at different cellular health levels need to be trained and dieted differently, which is why we come up with the concept of functional nutrition. That does not mean that the standard fundamentals are not true. That does not mean that caloric deficits don't lead to fat loss. True. You need to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. True. But also true is all of this. Is it possible to only burn fat through ketosis when calorie deficits fail? Diane, you're asking a very complex question, and what I'll tell you is this. When caloric deficits aren't working, it's because your body is not going into autophagy from a caloric deficit, which is a normal metabolic adaptation for somebody with an overactive immune system or too much diet adaptation, or they have something else going on. So you have to induce autophagy. How do you induce autophagy? You force it into ketosis, okay? You force it into ketosis because ketosis forces autophagy because it's the AMPK pathway. So that's one of the reasons we use ketosis in people that have weight loss resistance, they have diseases that are unexplained, they can't solve, because it assists in autophagy. Producer Malachi, go ahead and go up. You know what, Diane, I love that question. I'm gonna go ahead and hook you up. Waleed, let's go ahead and send her a GDA Pro, a Max Pro on us. We got a live chat going. I haven't been answering it. I've been too much in my zone. How can you increase leptin if it's low? I just told you. Right here, GDA Max Pro, and also eat more food. Also, there's a guy on here named Nick. I don't like Nick. Nick, what's up, man? Hope you're doing good. But I don't like you. You know that, right? Like I don't like you at all. I just want to be absolutely clear, everybody on this. If you have low insulin from chronic dieting, do you recommend the flush? Absolutely. Okay, Buff Tiff. One of the things that you can learn at MMU, we have our new 13-week cohort. I teach you the whole system. We're doing it for $1,500 now. What used to be like a year of training to get all 4 Fs, we're now giving it to you right now. If you reach out, Cam or Waleed, drop a link or to the Metabolic Mentor website so they can book with the advisor. We totally changed it after the Hybrid Health Summit. You can learn this system in like a couple weeks, or a couple months, like 8 weeks. And we can hold your hand doing it for $1,500. Like, you cannot beat that. No one should bat an eye at that. You can go learn this whole system and totally change your results. I want the MU. It's all right, awesome. I'm telling you, all of you will love it. If any of you go through the 13-week cohort or you do it self-paced and you pay the $1,500 and you get the whole system and you go, Vince, this was bullshit, and you can tell me why it's bullshit, I'll give you your money back. I don't care. There's no way you're going to think it's bullshit. It's impossible. So you guys gotta, we took what was a year, we took the 4F framework, and every single person, 1, 2, 3, 4, F1, 2, 3, 4, flush, feed, function, fast. You put them through that, everyone's gonna have great results. We took 8,000 people, like 8,000 sample, we put them through it with no labs essentially, and we had 88% success rate on any condition coming through the door. There's no other program on planet effing Earth that works like that. Just these lives aren't BS. I'm sure MMU is great. Yeah, so listen, I don't want people to be afraid to get into functional because it'll change your life. So I went the Hermosi model. I'm just pretty much giving it away. $1,500 is, when you try to go to one of these certification companies, is nothing. They're charging 20, 40, 50, 60, 70. You try to go to a college, it could be way more. Do you recommend GDX Pro during a flush or separate from the flush? Okay, so go back up after the flush. You want the sugars to go high during the flush. And afterwards, if you go up, she was asking a question about, go up a little bit further. Go up a little further. The question, can they see you scrolling backwards live? Oh, I need to explain them the question then, don't I? Okay, so Buff Tiff 1583 asked, if you have low insulin from chronic dieting, do you recommend the flush? So what I've proven with the flush is the reason that you're not losing weight, Buff Tiff, or you're stalling, is because of insulin function. So the way to get insulin function up is actually sugar. That's why there is a time and a place for almost a juice fast, or using a lot of juice. You need a simple sugar to induce insulin spikes. Everyone's afraid of fruit and fruit juice. Well, guess what? You need insulin. Fastest way to get insulin is sugar. Well, what kind of sugar? Well, low glycemic index sugar, not candy sugar, okay? Fructose, something that has a lower glycemic index. I think I need to sign up for the flush. You can do that. We're offering the flush right now with 45 days of my free app for 99 bucks. You go to, somebody drop vitalcoaching.com in the chat. You can literally you can get the phase 1 kit, you can read the guidebook, and then you can ask my coaches and you get 45 days free. We walk you through it. So you can just do it on yourself. Now to be a coach or to do it to someone else, you're gonna wanna get certified in that. That we do, and so much more in our classroom side with all of our amazing practitioners in MMU. I just joined, can't wait to get my kit. Awesome! I'm so glad you're doing it, that's great. I can't wait. I'm cleansing right now. I'm on day 5. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good, you know. My headaches the first 2 days were a little rough, but that's all right. So GDA Max. So something you guys should know, to all my coaches, GDA Max Pro is so strong that we're only allowing coaches and practitioners to sell it, or you have to go to my site, practitionerdepot.com. So if you are a coach or you're a health practitioner and you're tired of losing your sales to Amazon, or you're tired of the companies selling against you, well, if you sign up at nevethics.com, or you are a coach and you refer to practitioner, or you sign up at practitionerdepot.com, then your clients can only get this product by going through you. So you get the income from that for years to come, because this product is knockout. New Ethics Formulations is releasing a whole line of just pro products. All pro products will not be on Amazon. They cannot be sold by New Ethics. They can only be sold by you, the coach or the practitioner. So guess what? Your clients or people that you link it to on Instagram can only go to you to get it. They can't go to Amazon. You can't lose all that. So you should support us in our cause to create a coaching exclusive product line. We've launched 2 products for that. That's the Phase 1 Cellular Restore Kit and this product, and we're launching about 4 or 5 more. So that way you can have a whole coaching line that no one can steal from you, that you can't lose it to Amazon, you can't lose it anywhere. They got to get it through you. So support us, because it's almost suicide to cut off selling on Amazon or to cut off selling DTC, which is called direct-to-consumer advertising. New Ethics is not going to compete against its coaches in the pro line. The pro line is for pros, coaches, health practitioners, or clients that have gone to you and know how to use it. If someone's immune system flares, do you do flush, or you still recommend doing flares from flush? Do you still recommend doing one? Well, I don't know if their immune system flared from it. That's a big assumption. Most people just kind of mess it up, or they ate for so long that they just got a little bit of more food brought in, water retention that they have to come over, and they call that an immune flare. If they actually have an immunologic hives reaction or something, no, they need to go do gut work, and they need to do immune work, and then come back and do a flush. You know, that'll work, right? So, all right, let's see. All right, let's go ahead, a couple more things. So if you guys want, you can cleanse with me for $99 and get 45 days of my free new app, the Vital Coaching app. We have a rebrand, just so everybody knows. Nutrition Dynamic is gone. Vital Coaching, is our new brand. We're going to go up against medical organizations. We're going to go up against Big Pharma. We're going to piss everybody off. Vital is going to take over, and we plan on being the tip of the spear for the coaching industry, taking the fight to chronic disease in the United States. But if you wanna cleanse with me, you can go check it out. We kicked it off. It comes with all kinds of trainings and the guides, and you get the kit. $99 gets you the kit to flush. So you can't beat that deal. Is there a preferred time of day to meal to take GDA? I like taking GDA. I'll take 2 with my carb meals that are about 30 or 40 grams. Now, we don't know yet, because this induces ketone production at 1 hour. You should be able to take this with high protein meals, because high protein meals also release sugar because your body converts it. It's called neoglucogenesis. So if you don't release enough insulin, then eating protein is like eating carbs. Your sugars are the same. Everybody hear me this again. If you are having metabolic issues and you think you're going to escape them by just eating protein, your body's got another thing for you. Because it's just going to convert that steak into a Mars bar. It's going to convert that chicken into Skittles. So without appropriate insulin function, it doesn't matter whether you eat protein or carbs. You ain't losing no weight. You ain't gaining weight appropriately. Insulin is the gateway. So that's why all these people that are on these low carb diets, at some point they take it too far and they start eating their muscle. They start getting fat. You'll see it on keto too. And it's because of insulin function. I hope I've just blown your mind, because that is the truth. No one can argue that. There's plenty of evidence now to suggest, especially when we look at weight gain and eating disorders, and we look at insulin being really low. That's why I know I'm right, and you can know I'm right too. All right. So let's move on. Slintrol, real quick. I got this question. Slintrol versus GDA. So Slintrol, okay, is another blood glucose product. It is not in the pro line, but it is significantly less expensive. It's only $24. Oh, Nessa, I appreciate you. Yes, Vince, I genuinely feel like ND changed my life, and I still have a way to go. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Nessa. Well, I appreciate you, and thank you for the support and the love. You know, a lot of people don't think we're doing the right thing. A lot of people think that we're liars, but you know the truth. We're just seeking the truth, and we're allowing us to take us wherever it needs to go, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's unconventional, and even if research hasn't proven it yet, which it will 30 years after we start the work, because that's how slow effing research is. And that's just what it is. And that's the fact. If you want to be an innovator as a coach, as a practitioner, then you're going to be ahead of the research. And when you're ahead of the research and you're ahead of other people, people are not going to understand. And what they don't understand, they're going to scrutinize. So if you ever want to do the right thing, you're going to get scrutinized by definition. And just how it is. You have to do the work, but it will change your life. Appreciate you. All right, let's keep going. So Slintrol is a really good product. It's your standard blood sugar absorber. It reduces inflammation, which helps sugar absorb. Slintrol is a very good, if you're not someone who's super inflamed, if you just are looking for basic blood sugar advancement, if you're looking for a low price GDA that works really, really well, it's Slintrol. If you want to crank insulin and you're focused on insulin function, then it's GDA. But don't get me wrong, for a standard GDA, Slintrol is incredible. Okay? Healthcare Disruptor, you guys are awesome. Well, thank you, PR Dawson. I appreciate you. All right. I'm going to talk about one more topic. We're actually running really long tonight. Meg, you're the winner of a GDA Pro. Max, thank you for playing. This is also a controversial issue, so you better strap in. I am a functional educator and a functional practitioner. I am not holistic. I believe eating holistically as best as possible is good. But I am about solutions to fixing a body that is imbalanced. Okay? The truth to finding solutions isn't always going to be found in a root, in a bucket of fruit. I wish you could just eat clean and everything got better. I wish that was true. Trust me, I've been fucking trying it for 18 years. If it just was eating healthier to fix all the problems, I would have figured it out already. It's not the truth. It helps. It's one factor. Okay? It's one factor. But there are certain problems that have been going on in people for 20 years. Do you think if you've been having a problem for 20 years, if you switch from bread to fruit, it's going to fix everything? I'm sorry. No. And neither will just taking a few herbs or drinking an herbal tea or going outside and grounding your feet in some grass or friggin', doing cold plunge by itself. Sorry. It's not going to fix everything. All of these things are little inputs that can create incredible change, but there are conditions that sometimes to actually overcome it in a reasonable amount of time, okay, you have to use functional approaches that may require some medicinal inputs while still doing holistic lifestyle strategies. So I might go hike in the woods, do cold plunge, right? Eat organic. But if I got to use peptides or hormones or certain supplements that are aggressive, guess what? I'm going to do it because that's what's effective. And that's what people want from me is effectiveness. They don't want me standing on my soapbox being like, no, this is always bad and this is always good and never do this and always do that. People that do that are liars and they're doing it for commerce. They're not doing it for truth because the truth is always more complicated than a simple yes or no. So coming back to this question, Anavar, what is Anavar? Well, if you're in the fitness world, you know it is a steroid. But just so everybody understands, if you're against steroids, then don't take your hormonal birth control. Oh, maybe now it's not such a problem, huh? Yeah, the same thing that your doctor's prescribing you down the street or you pick up at Walgreens, it's really no different than this. Now, how you use these things matters. So Anavar, before it became a bodybuilding steroid, began with a medicinal beginning, and it's called oxandrolone. Oxandrolone was created for certain diseases: muscle wasting, cachexia, burn victims, right? Eating disorders, other liver conditions, okay? Oxandrolone, and this is the funny thing about androgen steroids versus testosterone steroids. Testosterone is still androgenic than Anavar. So if you're worried about virilization or you're worried about masculine effects of hormones, you should be much more concerned with testosterone than Anavar. Just being clear about that. But we know testosterone's safe at low dose, right? It is. So So we're not afraid of testosterone, but then everyone hears the word Anavar and they're like, oh my God, oh, you can't do that. Oh my God. The important part to understand, oxandrolone is a medicine. It is a steroid medicine. Okay? Megan, it's if you use the correct amounts and you cycle the Anavar at low dose and you're a healthy individual and you're doing it under the advisement of a health practitioner, yeah, you can use both testosterone and Anavar. Yes, you can. Now, Anavar, as we understand it, gets used in either 10 or 20 or 50 milligrams, or some people even 100 milligrams. Those are steroid doses. So if I'm a bodybuilding female, I might take 10 or 20 milligrams of Anavar for a prolonged period of time. 8, 16, 24 weeks, cycle off. Okay, I might do that. That might get you to dangerous levels. Probably not. 10 milligrams, probably not. Some people, it might cause problems, but the majority of people know. You start getting into 20 and stuff like that, you're definitely getting in a higher dose. Men will take 50, right? So, let's come back to why this is important. SHBG. SHBG stands for sex hormone binding globulin. So it is a globulin that floats around in your body and it grabs up free hormone. That's hormone that's ready to be used that you can feel. It has an affinity, meaning a preference, for androgens. So it tends to like to grab testosterone, right? So it will pull down your androgen hormones. It will grab some estrogen too. So that's why you got to be careful on certain birth controls. Like a lot of times, high estrogen-based birth controls will crank SHBG. But if you do like low estrogen, like generation 1 birth controls that have norethindrone in them, it might lower your SHBG because they're androgen leaning. So things that promote just understand androgens you can separate into two things. Androsterone, which is how women build more muscle, by the way, and testosterone. They are both considered androgens, but they are not the same. I don't like that they talk about them as if they're the same thing. They are absolutely not. They have different features and functions inside the body, although they both have a preference for building muscle. Testosterone doesn't have as much of a metabolic effect in females. It does in males. Oxandrolone, or in this case, we'll say androsterone, has more of a metabolic effect in both male and females, but even more so in females. Females always make androsterone. In menopause, it's the only thing that they make because it comes from your adrenal glands, because it comes from DHEA into androgen. This is important to understand. Now, how many of you in the chat have met women that no matter what you do can't build muscle? Or how many of you in the chat know a chronic dieter that even when she loses weight, she only puts fat back on? So we work all the way down, we get her weight down, and then we're like, all right, now we're gonna give you all the protein like the research says, we're gonna do all the things like the research says, and yet they just gain fat. And now they gotta go lose the fat from the build that they just got off in the effing cut. How many people have seen someone like that in the chat? How many? Yeah, you're all gonna say yes, 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 yes. But I'm gonna tell you, just so you know, according to the research, all of you are liars. According to the research, that's impossible. It's impossible. That can't be. The research says it's impossible. Yet you all are putting yes in the chat. I got 40 of you in here, and yet like 20 of you have already said yes. So either all 20 of you are just lying pieces of shit, or there is variation occurring in bioindividuality in the human population that is not being adequately represented in the literature. I wonder which one's correct. Right? So, All right, now, what you need to understand is that many of these women have high SHBG. When you diet, so as I'm dieting, insulin is going down, SHBG is going up. That's why your hormones get lower and lower and lower as you keep diet, is one of the reasons, especially your androgen hormones. Women who chronically diet have SHBG levels that are at 80 or 100 or 120. If your SHBG gets that high, you will take away all of your androgen hormones that help you build muscle. So when you start dieting too long, you don't have the hormones anymore that help you hold muscle in a caloric deficit or when you're training in a deficit. And so you'll start eating more muscle when you're down there longer. And then when women get to the peak weight loss, so let's say a woman's been dieting 24 weeks. Her SHBG maybe starts at a 20, 25. By the end of the 24 weeks, her SHBG is at 100. Now, what are you going to do as a coach? Well, you're going to feed them up. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to bring carbs back. You're going to increase calories. So that should go into what? Protein synthesis. But what's one of the triggers of protein synthesis? Appropriate hormones. Okay? So if a woman has really high SHBG, she's not going to build muscle right away. In fact, for the first 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, she may only build fat. So all of that work you just killed her for 24 weeks is now kicking her ass in the build because she's not putting the muscle back on to replace the muscle she lost from the cut. This is why chronic dieting done wrong screws women over in their 30s. And you're going to say it's, oh, because the metabolism slowed down. Oh, it's because of the food quality. Oh, it's because of the whatever. No, it's because they've been dieting the wrong way for 25 fucking years. People do not realize because of, we got dumb smart people who go, oh no, caloric deficits don't lose muscle. And yeah, for males who they're primarily studying, that's generally true, although they will lose some muscle. You can't just lose 100% fat. 70% is the best when you do normal bodybuilding strategies. Fasting strategies, you can get closer to 90, 95% fat. Recovered GLP user needed this when they fed up. Yes, exactly, Megan, exactly. If you use too much GLP and you don't diet on it correctly, which is semaglutide, you're gonna lose muscle, right? And then if you don't feed up the correct way and spark insulin function and get SHBG down, then you're just gonna gain a bunch of fat. That's why our dietitians and our doctors know how to use semaglutide correctly when medicinally efficaciously used in the right people. Okay? You don't just give semaglutide to anybody. He's like, oh, I want to lose weight. That's irresponsible. You're an asshole. But there are people that have metabolic imbalances that to get into autophagy, to get the bad cells out, to burn fat assisted again, they need to force sugars down and insulin up. That's what a GLP does, everybody, is it cranks insulin. So that's why everyone's, oh, my metabolism's slower. I'm 35 years old. It must be age. No, not at all. Not true. Your metabolism actually slows down very slowly over time. You'd be amazed at how much of this is not age. It's what we're doing to our bodies in the environment that it's in. Right? So there's a bunch of data. There's so much data out there on the metabolic benefits, the medicinal benefits of oxandrolone or Anavar. Okay? Right? In catabolic disorders, to prevent muscle wasting, to improve SHBG in eating disorders, to speed up the rate of healing. Right? There's all these different things. Is oxandrolone stimulating the nervous system? Not that we can tell. No, Megan. One of the things that you should know, Megan, is that androgens, there's a reason that men don't get autoimmune disorders like females. 80% of autoimmune sufferers are female. The majority of people who suffer chronic unexplained conditions are female. 80% of long hauler COVID sufferers are female. Do you know why? Because your immune system is activated by too high or too low of estrogen, because estrogen receptor sites are on T and B cell lymphocytes. So estrogen activates them. So if your estrogen gets too high from the wrong birth control, you'll piss off your immune system. If you go into menopause or you simulate menopause because you let your estrogen get too low, it'll stimulate the immune system. But in men, androgens calm the immune system. So it would appear that low-dose oxandrolone or testosterone is actually beneficial to the immune system because it'll calm down the immune system or balance it. Now, there's more to it than that, so I don't want to get into it. But here's what's important. Let me show you this study because Megan's asking me, how do you lower SHBG? Well, Megan, there's only two ways to really do it. You're going to see data that says stinging nettle root lowers SHBG. Now, because I used to be a holistic zealot, and I used to not want to say anything about hormones, I would tell you that stinging nettle root in the research lowers SHBG. I'm going to tell you today, that is a fucking lie. It doesn't work. It's bullshit. It's never worked. It will never work. People will keep telling you that because they don't actually do the thing. They don't actually deal with these people in real life. Because if they did, you would see that that's not true. It doesn't work. It won't work. It never works. It doesn't work. In fact, there's only one way to lower SHBG. And that's to feed up. And to leave your body in a high nutritional caloric state for a long period of time. And even that doesn't work sometimes. And by the way, guess what? You gain a bunch of fat doing that. So does that sound like a good idea, gang? If I've got a female with high SHBG, or it's over 80, because even over 80 is affecting your ability to burn muscle. What am I supposed to do? Give them stinging nettle root that I know is bullshit? Am I supposed to feed them up and just let them gain fat? And then have to cut them again, which is going to increase SHBG? Or I look at the research. And the research shows here, oxandrolone. This was 8 weeks, only using 2 to 3 to 4 milligrams. Very low dose. This is not a bodybuilder dose. Okay, this is a hormone replacement dose. Know the difference when people try to tell you something's good or bad. If someone was like, oh, I heard that Sarah died from water, so I'm going to stop drinking water. It's terrible. Water's terrible. Well, the first question that you should ask is, how much water did they have? Oh, she had 5 gallons. Well, there's your answer. Don't drink 5 gallons of fucking water in a day. It's not that the water was bad. It was how we used it. Right? Same thing. When someone tries to tell you, oh, hormones are bad, or meat's bad, or whatever. It's all in the context of what's appropriate amounts in appropriate amount of time for the goal that you have. There's no bad. There's only how we use things, whether that's bad or good for the body. So oxandrolone, check it out. What it did here, we'll take a look. Check this out. So it did help improve testosterone levels, but the most important thing that it did, SHBG concentrations were also reduced from 130, y'all. You see 130? Down to 30. Do you see that? Do you see how much is that, y'all? 130 on average to 30. That is about I think a 70% reduction in SHBG. And it clears the liver, FYI. And it stays gone. Do you understand that? That after you're done taking the oxandrolone for a very short period of time, SHBG still stays lower. Now, if you keep dieting, it'll go back up again and you might have to use a little bit more to get rid of it. But do you understand? The only thing that lowers oxandrolone that we can find in the data, and I've been looking all over, is oxandrolone. But then people who don't pay attention are going to go, he's using steroids on women. What a terrible person. He's a liar. He's a cheat. He's defrauding the public. He's pumping people full of steroids. No, we're not. 2 to 3 or 4 milligrams for maybe an 8-week period will reduce the SHBG by almost 70%, giving people the opportunity to have balanced hormones in the refeed, to optimize their body composition. This can bring in fatigue. It can assist a lot of issues inside the body that you can correct in a couple weeks. So that's the truth of why, as a functional practice that likes holistic food and organic food, we might still use oxandrolone. So don't let these people out there, and there's some of them are going to watch this, I got my haters, that have been nailing me on Instagram saying I'm a liar and a cheat and I shove people full of Anavar, which I don't do, by the way. You have to go see our medical team. I don't prescribe anything. We send it for reference to Vital Medical. They decide if it's worthy through medical practitioners who are licensed instead of the idiot opinion. No, I'm done. I'm going too far. I'm not going to focus on the haters. But I just need you to understand this is why. I have a very clear and precise reason and efficacious process and criteria for why the Vital Medical team may use this at times. And I'm arguing that coaches out there, you need to start watching SHBG on your clients and be responsible about this. Because if they're chronic dieting, it has turned into a metabolic problem. We have to fix it. And a lot of times, it's the fitness industry causing the problem. And then they want to say, oh, it's just nutrition, it's just this, or you just need to be more compliant. Bullshit. Sometimes there's real problems going on inside the body that you need to fix. And sometimes the answer is in a basket of fruit. All right, I know I went on my soapbox. People are probably tired. I'm going to go over cold plunge science next time. I do remember the Hybrid Health Summit just happened. And if you want a replay of all these amazing presenters and all the things that were going on inside the summit, it was incredible. The speakers were exceptional. If you go ahead and share this live, so I'm going to post it on my Instagram. If you tag me and you share it to your stories and you tag me, you will be entered to win a free Hybrid Health Summit replay of the whole event worth $200. I'll give out a couple of them. I'll announce one of the winners next week. But you got to go ahead and I'm going to post this. Share it to your stories and tag me in it. I'll enter you to win, and then we'll draw somebody next time. $200 value. So if you guys want to support me, support this page, support the work that we do, go ahead and share some love. And I hope you guys enjoyed this Metabolic Monday. I will see you all next Monday. Peace.